People really hate Ginny, and I mean really hate her. She's entitled, spoiled, bratty, and downright ungrateful. But is that all the character's meant to be? Virginia Miller, or Ginny, is only half of the titular Ginny and Georgia. It follows our biracial teenager and her white mother as they move to the town of Wellsbury, Massachusetts for a fresh start. But because this is a drama, their past does come back to bite as we uncover just what secrets brought them to this new town. The more I began to dig, I realized that Ginny was all of the things I listed earlier, but she's also a teenager. Is being a stereotypical teenager enough to earn this much hatred? Or are we missing context? Is she valid to embody these traits? Before we get into Ginny, we must discuss Georgia. She's incredibly beautiful, charming, and charismatic, bubbly, and overly friendly. This also makes her unlikable for school pickup purposes. If this were the 2000s, she would probably be playing our blonde white bimbo. And to top it all off, she's an unwed mother. But something this show does well is breaking and delving into our stereotypes. The more we find out about Georgia, we learn that she's clever, cunning, ambitious, resourceful, quick-witted. She's the perfect candidate for Slytherin, and she would say that she was born this way. But that's not the complete truth. Much of life has made her this way. As a teen mom, we see that she is just as immature and unhealed, but left with the huge responsibility of being a parent. She is learning as she goes. Before we get too far into Georgia, let's swing back to Ginny. On the surface, she is the complete opposite of her mother. She's unfriendly, socially awkward, moody, and introverted. I mean, her stepdad did just die, for crying out loud. But like her mother, that's not all she is. She's also a child with an identity crisis, and much of it, in part, is due to her mother. A bold claim, I know. Walk with me. Wellsbury is the ideal picture of the American dream. Wide colonial homes that could be the meeting place for big family dinners, some of the best schools in the country, white picket fences, and you would guess that most of its citizens are college-educated homeowners. And Georgia is able to move her and her children into this beautiful town due to the sudden passing of her ex-husband, as he left her a sizable inheritance. Georgia gains extensive access within this world by forcing people to notice her. Ginny tries her best to lay low. As a biracial black girl, she doesn't feel like she fits in. Yes, the distinction is important. In the very first episode, Georgia is pulled over by the cops. While both Ginny and Georgia tense up, they do so for very different reasons. Georgia tenses up because she killed her ex-husband. Asking why Ginny tenses up in 2025 America does not need to even be a question. And unfortunately, she has these reactions of just tensing up and freezing to everything, no matter how big or small, especially when it comes to her social life. Ginny mentions that this is her first time being able to make friends. As someone who has always been the new girl, she's in a completely different territory. And as a consequence, everything feels like some sort of test. And she's failing. So when she's not only included in a friend group and has her first encounter with a boy and goes all the way in the span of a week, are we surprised to watch her crack? Because this is a teen drama, Ginny's struggle of being the new girl cannot be the only issue in her life. The first 2 seasons of the show takes place from around September to early January. About 90 days, give or take. Okay, we see her struggle with identity when it comes to the people she's friends with. One of the many girls she befriends outside of Mang, our main friend group, is another black girl named Bracia, who notes that she seems to not like hanging out with the other black kids. While to Ginny, this was not a conscious decision, it still makes her doubt herself. But can you blame her when she gets to witness her very white mother dressing up as Scarlett O'Hara? So much of your identity is not only based on yourself, but those around you. One of the few constant figures that she's had in her life is her mother. Thanks to George's us versus them mentality, they only rely on each other. And after spending so much time with her, Ginny thinks she knows Georgia, only to learn within a span of 90 days that she doesn't know as much as she thought she did, and that this woman is keeping way more from her than she originally thought. I mentioned earlier that so much of who we know Georgia to be comes as a result of her being a teen mom. Through a series of flashbacks, we come to learn more about Georgia, maybe more about her than we ever do Ginny. All the things that she's done and or been through that she may not be the most proud of. It would actually be way easier to list them off, okay? Number 1. This is not at all her fault. I'm just telling you what has happened in her life. Number 1, being essayed by her father. Technically her stepfather, but being essayed by her stepdad. That's number 1. Number 2, running away from home at 15. Number 3, being part of a motorcycle gang. Number 4, her stepdad. Number 5, teen mom life. Number 6, okay, running away again, this time with her child. Number 7, sleeping in a car. Number 8, being part of a gambling ring. Number 9, changing her name. Number 10, going no contact with her sister. Number 11, getting married to her first husband. Number 12, her first husband, okay? Number 13, meeting Gil, her abusive partner. Number 14, getting his baby by the abusive partner. She got the abusive man's baby. Getting pregnant by Gil. Number 15, framing Gil to be arrested. Okay? Number 16, meeting Kenny. Number 17, seeing that Kenny has the potential to SA her child. Number 18, Kenny. Now, mind you, Ginny was alive from at least 0.5 onward. And when her aunt shows up on her doorstep, the sister that Georgia went no contact with, Ginny is now left to wonder what else Georgia has lied about. This may sound like I'm calling Georgia a bad mother, and I'm not. Far from it, okay? Ginny often refers to Georgia as a force. This unnamed powerful being that shoves her way into spaces, often dragging her and Austin with it. And while it sounds bad, so much of it has been for good and has saved them over the years, like the way she protects her children. Even the way in which she's able to secure finances for the betterment of her children. The downside is that she, like many parents, unfortunately takes her experiences and uses it to make her children feel bad that their experiences were not as bad as hers. When Ginny shows up with her grievances, Georgia responds, I didn't have a childhood. At least she had a childhood. Talking about Ginny. It's not an innately wrong statement, but it does invalidate your child's serious complaints. Even the fact that she has opened up credit cards and Ginny and Austin's name is swept under the rug after saying she did it for them. She has inherently messed up their credit score before they even really understand what credit is for. Georgia says she didn't know how to be a parent. No one does. But Georgia chose the route of isolating her kids onto a lonely island with her. She tried to mold them into the family she desperately needed, to a family that had everyone's back. But we also have to remember that your parents, no matter how hard they try or how well-intentioned they may seem, will inflict some sort of damage to their children. And Georgia's is she fails to set them up for the future because she was always fighting to stay afloat in the moment, often opting to be their friend instead of their parent. And for this, Ginny is supposed to be grateful. The reaction of Ginny reminds me of another black character to white parents, Randall Pearson from This Is Us. Randall was adopted as a baby from the hospital by a white family to help finish their set of triplets after one was tragically lost in the delivery process. As young Randall grows into the man that we know him to be, when we finally see the show, the triplets are 37. He seems to always remind himself that if the Pearsons hadn't lost their son, if he hadn't been brought to the same hospital, if Jack hadn't seen him at that particular time and thought to suggest to bring him home with them, then he would have been in a worse situation than being brought into a white family's home who just didn't understand him. And for that, he should feel grateful. When he brings it up to a therapist years later as an adult and follows that same ideology, she has to stop him. After telling her that his family didn't see color, after feeling scorned with the events of 2020, after finding out in adulthood that his mother kept his birth father from him, why do you feel that is the only emotion you can have? And he says he's supposed to, completely forcing down any other feelings he has towards his parents that aren't gratitude, even if it's swallowing him up from the inside. If no one's told you, you're allowed to have feelings towards your parents that aren't layered in positivity. It's natural, because if you don't, your unprocessed emotions will instead overflow and manifest into different and more harmful ways. For Randall, his turned into bitterness when he truly felt betrayal. For Ginny, she's angry and it slowly ebbs into self-harm. After everything I've told you, is Ginny still annoying? Kind of. Is she bratty? A bit. Is she entitled? Absolutely. Her mother raised her that way. And all those Slytherin-like qualities that I mentioned earlier, those also apply to Ginny. She is just as cunning and clever and ambitious as Georgia. It's just that she's horrible at hiding it. But under all of this, she's just a scared little girl. And much like the one Georgia was, and still kind of is, Georgia is no saint. And part of that is she's still a bit immature. But Georgia is no longer a child, while Ginny still is. Ginny is still figuring out her life and how she fits into it. Fortunately, this is a normal part of life that she gets to experience uninterrupted. So Ginny is all of those things, but she is just like her mother. A fact that she's slowly coming to terms with and welcoming. And she gets to have the childhood that was denied for Georgia. So now Ginny is allowed to be a dreamer. She is allowed to be ambitious and strong and creative and selfish and overprotective and bold and kind. Everything that was thrust upon Georgia. Ginny can now attempt these qualities slowly, carving out what they mean for her and her life. Is her life hard? Yes, everyone is to some degree. But is it harder than Georgia's? No. And that's the best that Georgia can ask for. So why can't we be happy in that tiny victory for Georgia?